The horizon arrives before the land does, a thin, perfect line where the planet seems to pause, undecided about what it wants to be. Above it, the sky stretches endlessly. Below it, the same sky waits, reflected back with unsettling precision. The ground does not look solid. It does not even look real. It looks like light itself, white, blinding, infinite. This is a place where the earth erases its own surface. Each step forward feels like stepping into the heavens. There is no shadow to confirm weight, no texture to reassure the senses. The mind searches for distance, for depth, for scale, and finds nothing. Just an endless plain where the world seems flattened, stripped of dimension, reduced to a single impossible idea. Here, certainty dissolves. The air is thin and sharp, carrying a dryness that tightens the lungs. Every breath feels deliberate, as if the body must negotiate its presence in this environment. The sun is merciless, hanging above with no filter, no mercy, no distraction. Light bounces upward from the salt, colliding with the glare from the sky, amplifying brightness until the world feels overexposed. There are no trees, no rocks, no landmarks, no features to interrupt the geometry, just an immense white expanse, etched faintly with repeating shapes, hexagons, thousands upon thousands of them, locked together like the surface of a frozen equation. Each cell fits perfectly into the next, formed not by intention, but by evaporation, pressure, and time. Standing here, the human brain begins to fail. Depth perception collapses. Objects in the distance appear suspended, hovering somewhere between earth and sky. Sound behaves strangely. Footsteps echo for a moment, then vanish into the openness, swallowed by space itself. Silence presses in, not empty, but heavy, immense. This landscape feels unfinished, or perhaps finished so completely that nothing more can exist here. And yet, beneath this stark simplicity lies the memory of something vast and alive. Long before this salt hardened under the sun, this entire region was submerged beneath water. Not an ocean connected to distant shores, but a massive inland sea trapped high in the mountains. A body of water so large it rivaled modern seas, fed by melting glaciers and ancient rainfall patterns shaped by a rising mountain range. The Andes were younger then, still pushing upward, reshaping wind and weather. Moisture collected in this high-altitude basin, filling it slowly, relentlessly. The lake deepened, life followed, fish moved through cold waters. Algae bloomed beneath the surface. Microorganisms adapted to mineral-rich conditions. This was not a barren place, it was vibrant, dynamic, alive. But the earth does not hold still. Climate shifted, ice retreated, winds changed direction, rain weakened. Over thousands of years, the lake began to shrink. As water evaporated, minerals remained. Salt concentrated, brine thickened. The lake fractured into smaller bodies, then smaller still, until only shallow remnants clung to existence. Eventually, even those vanished. What remained was not emptiness, but residue. Layer upon layer of salt crystallized on the basin floor, compacted by time into a vast crust. Each cycle of evaporation added another memory to the surface. Each dry season reinforced the geometry. What stands here now is the largest salt flat on Earth, a white scar marking the disappearance of an ancient sea. The surface appears simple, almost minimal, but beneath it lies complexity beyond imagination. The salt crust, several meters thick, floats atop dense brine rich in lithium, boron, potassium, elements trapped by time. Below that, sediments from a lost world rest quietly, untouched for millennia. This ground is not inert. It is suspended in balance. During the dry season, the crust hardens into a near-perfect plane, so flat, so uniform, that from space it appears unnatural. Satellites orbiting hundreds of kilometers above use this surface as a reference point, calibrating instruments against its precision. From orbit, this place looks less like a landscape and more like a feature of mathematics. But perfection here is fleeting. When the rains arrive, they arrive gently. There is no thunderous announcement, no sudden chaos, just clouds gathering slowly along the horizon, darkening the sky with a subtle promise of change. The air grows cooler. Pressure shifts, then water falls. Rain spreads across the salt in a thin, deliberate sheet, dissolving the top layer just enough to unlock something extraordinary. The world transforms almost instantly. The ground disappears. A mirror forms. Sky pours downward, filling every crack, every cell. Clouds drift beneath your feet. The sun blazes from below as fiercely as it does above. The horizon vanishes entirely, erased by reflection. There is no longer an up or a down. The earth becomes illusion. Movement here feels dangerous, not because the surface is unstable, but because the mind is. People lose balance not from uneven footing, but from disorientation. The brain demands reference points and finds none. Distance loses meaning. Scale dissolves. It feels like floating between two skies. In these moments, reality feels thin, stretched, almost transparent. The world seems to hesitate, unsure of its own form. Lightning storms, when they come, turn the flats into something mythic. Bolts tear through the clouds above and split their reflections below, creating perfect symmetry, twin explosions of light mirrored endlessly across the surface. Thunder rolls outward, distorted by the openness, echoing longer than expected, as if the land itself is amplifying the sound. Rain intensifies, ripples spread, the mirror trembles, then, slowly, inevitably, the water retreats. Evaporation begins its quiet work. The mirror fractures, geometry reasserts itself. The salt hardens once more, as if nothing happened, but something always does. Every cycle leaves residue. Every reflection alters chemistry. Every rainfall reshapes the surface even slightly. This land is constantly rewriting itself, even when it appears unchanged. Life here is built around this rhythm. When water covers the flats, microscopic algae awaken. They bloom beneath the shallow brine, staining sections of the surface with subtle reds and greens. These organisms thrive in conditions that would kill most life. Extreme salinity, intense ultraviolet radiation, wild temperature swings. They are ancient, resilient, perfectly tuned to this place. They are also the foundation of a brief, explosive ecosystem. From the sky, movement appears, white shapes against white, barely distinguishable at first. Then color emerges. Pink, coral, soft red. Flamingos arrive. They descend in numbers that feel unreal, their long legs slicing through reflection as they land. Each bird is doubled beneath its feet, turning flocks into floating constellations. They feed by filtering algae from the water. Their curved beaks evolved precisely for this environment. Their color is not decorative. It is survival, shaped by diet, by minerals, by salt. For a short window each year, the flats become a breeding ground. Flamingos nest on islands of salt, surrounded by reflective void. Predators struggle to approach across the open surface. The mirror becomes protection. Life thrives here briefly, intensely. Then the water fades, algae vanish, the birds depart, silence returns. The dry season brings a different kind of hostility. Sunlight becomes punishing. Temperatures swing dramatically between day and night. During daylight, the salt reflects heat upward, burning skin and eyes. Dehydration becomes a constant threat. At night, the heat dissipates quickly, and cold settles across the flats like a living thing. There is nowhere to hide. Navigation here is deceptively dangerous. With no landmarks, distance becomes a trick of the mind. Mirages form easily. The horizon lies convincingly. People have walked for hours toward a point that never seems to get closer. Stories persist of travelers who vanished here, swallowed by the white void without leaving a trace. Footprints fade quickly. Wind erases evidence. Moisture dissolves memory. The land forgets. Sound behaves unpredictably. Voices carry strangely, sometimes traveling far across the open space, sometimes disappearing almost instantly. The silence feels intentional, as if the land itself is listening. At night, the transformation is profound. The sky fills with stars, more than most humans will ever witness in one place. With no moisture, no pollution, no obstruction, the universe reveals itself in staggering clarity. The Milky Way stretches from horizon to horizon, reflected faintly by the pale salt below. It feels like standing between two infinities. Time stretches here. Without movement, without change, minutes blur. Hours pass unnoticed. The mind drifts, thoughts slow. This place strips away urgency, and yet beneath the surface, pressure builds. Hidden below the crust is lithium, one of the most valuable elements of the modern age, essential for batteries, for energy storage, for the technologies shaping humanity's future. Phones, laptops, electric vehicles, entire systems of progress are quietly tied to the chemistry of this ground. The irony is sharp. A place that feels eternal is deeply fragile. Extracting lithium requires pumping brine from beneath the salt, altering water balance, changing pressure, disrupting chemical equilibrium. The process is slow, methodical, almost invisible, but the effects accumulate. Lower the brine too much, and the crust weakens. Alter evaporation cycles, and the mirror may no longer form. Shift chemistry, and algae may not bloom. Flamingos may not return. The system is interconnected, delicate. This land survived tectonic upheaval. It endured the disappearance of an inland sea. It adapted to extreme altitude, relentless sun, and brutal dryness. But it has never faced pressure like this. Human timelines are short, needs are immediate. The rhythms of this place are slow, patient, indifferent. The conflict is quiet. There are no explosions, no dramatic collapse, just subtle changes, slight sinking, altered reflection, weakened crust. Damage here whispers, and once the balance breaks, it may not return. Standing on the salt, perspective shifts. There are no ruins here, no monuments, no signs of ownership, nothing carved to assert permanence. Just earth, exposed. Without trees or mountains nearby, the human body feels temporary, insignificant. A brief interruption on an ancient surface. Footsteps leave faint impressions, but they fade quickly. Wind erases them, moisture dissolves them. The land refuses to remember. Time here is not measured in days or years, but in cycles. Evaporation, crystallization, rain, dryness, repeat. Thousands of years compressed into meters of salt. Millions more buried below. The surface renews itself endlessly. Storms pass, water comes and goes, crystals fracture and reform. The land adapts quietly, and yet standing here, something feels precarious, because for the first time in its existence, the greatest force shaping this place is not geology or climate, it is intention. As the sun lowers, the salt shifts in color, from blinding white to pale gold, then to soft lavender. Shadows finally emerge, giving the eye something to grasp. The horizon returns, the mirror breaks. The world feels solid again. But something lingers. Once you've stood in a place where the earth forgets its own shape, it becomes impossible to see the planet the same way again. This landscape is not just visually extreme, it is psychologically destabilizing. It challenges how we understand space, distance, reality. It asks questions without words. What is land without texture? What is direction without reference? What is humanity without context? The salt flat does not answer. It reflects. Clouds back to clouds, stars back to stars, human silhouettes doubled beneath their feet, stretched and distorted by light. And in that reflection, the illusion of control fades. Because here, at the edge of perception, the earth reveals a version of itself that existed long before us and may endure long after. A place where the planet does not perform for humanity, but simply exists, vast, ancient, indifferent. And for a brief moment, when the mirror forms and the world disappears, it allows us to see ourselves clearly, not as masters of the landscape, not as owners of the future, but as a passing reflection on an infinite surface.